taking notes from nobody.
Your superstars have off games.
Follow us on social media at Celtics Talk Weekly.
Oh boy. Welcome into Celtics Postgame Live. I'm your host, Justin Lowe. Alongside with me, Seamus Zarlingo, aka Celtics Every Day. Seamus, the Celtics made us sweat this game out. And not only did the Celtics get their 9-game win streak snapped, but there was also another streak that got snapped tonight, and that was the Detroit Pistons' 8-game losing streak. So if there was a game, as Brian Scalabrine said on NBC Sports Boston, this was the Detroit Pistons Super Bowl, and they did, in fact, win the Super Bowl tonight, 112-111. Totally what's the word? Out physical. What's a?
I know. I was trying to find the same word on my live. I was going
outplayed.
Just outplayed straight up.
And you know what? I don't want to give excuses. Sit here and give excuses of a second night of a back-to-back. I don't want to give excuses of Al and Rob being out because we have played opponents with guys out, important guys out. I mean, down the stretch, saw guys like Grant Williams hitting some shots, Al Horford, which was really good to see. JT and JB got going late. It's hard to see a game where the Celtics lose when Grant Williams scores 17 points. Seamus, I'm kind of sitting here in disbelief. I mean, the 13-45 Detroit Pistons made a statement tonight. If there was a game they wanted to win for the rest of the season, it was definitely this one. Kelly Olynyk, Game 7 to us, big time. I don't really know much to say. I mean, you can't beat every team, first of all, and you definitely can't beat every team by 30, which is what we're so accustomed to over the past few weeks. But do you think this was just, that we have nights like this, which obviously, yes, we do. That's welcome to real life. The Celtics are finally back to planet Earth. Or do you think this is like a, I lost my train of thought. Or do you think this is like a, I lost my train of thought.
Like a telltale sign, almost, of something further?
I just lost my thought. It was actually, I think it was a decent thought as well. But what are your instant reactions to this?
Well, there's two sides you could be on after this game. And I think Kendrick Perkins and Chris Mannix, they represented it quite well in postgame or during postgame right now. Kendrick is going on there. K-Perk, he's going on there. He's saying, the Celtics, this is the game before the All-Star break. You mentioned it, the Pistons. This was almost like their Super Bowl in a way. This was their last chance to grab a win before heading into all of their vacations. We know these guys go to different places around the country and around the world on vacation. This was their last chance to get a win. And so they played really tough tonight. However, there's another perspective to look at it from and go, really? Really? The Celtics are really going to lose this game after winning 9 straight games? And I know Robert Williams and Marcus were facing the Detroit Pistons, who you mentioned were coming off an 8-game losing streak. They had not won a game since we faced them last, and we had not lost a game since we faced them last. And yet they come in tonight. They totally bully us down low inside the paint. We ran on them a little bit in the first half, but in the second half, the Celtics just had multiple opportunities to put them away, especially down the stretch there where they went on a 13-0 run. Jason Tatum looked like he was starting to turn his game up to a new level, to another level, as we typically see late in games sometimes. And it just seemed like one of those nights where, here we go. The Celtics are just going to pull it out down the stretch. We've seen it against the Hawks. We've seen it against the Nuggets. And obviously last night against the Sixers, we just outright blew them out. But it felt like one of those games where, we're back to normal again. We're going to close out this team. And yet the Celtics, they bring back the same traits we saw in January, in December, in November, where they just let a team go on a run on them late in the game and just let them pull it out. It was a 14-5 run to end the game for the Pistons, and they win by 1. And in some fashion, that's still unacceptable. Like, it was great that we had a 9-game winning streak. It's great that we look good, but right now, it's like, really? Going into All-Star break, we had a chance to gain a lot of momentum here, and we drop a game to a 12-45 team. Like, that's more demoralizing than you think. I don't want to make too much of a big deal out of this, but I mean, you're riding on a 9-game win streak.
Seamus, and you come in, and I don't want to hear. I really don't. I don't want to hear people say, "Oh, well, we didn't have Smart. Well, we didn't have Robert Williams." Because guess what? We didn't have either of those two in that Philly game, and we blew them out by 50. And that was
Exactly.
to MVP Joel Embiid, who, yeah, you have your off nights, but Celtics absolutely ran Philly out of the gym last night. And Celtics had their opportunity. I don't want to hear they're on a second night of a back-to-back and all that, because the Celtics took an 8-point lead with 3.5 to go. I mean, that's still a lot of time left in the game, Seamus. I understand that. But Celtics, like you said, went on that 13-0 run. You saw the Derek White steal. Celtics had plenty of opportunities in this game. And I think that their Detroit's offensive rebounding absolutely killed the Celtics. And we've seen that in games before. We saw earlier this season. I don't want to compare this roster to what we had earlier in the season, but if you remember all the way back to the season home opener against the Toronto Raptors. Seamus, what lost the Celtics that game? Wasn't it the Celtics let the Raptors get 26 offensive rebounds? And that's exactly how the Toronto Raptors came in and stunned the Celtics.
That and turnovers as well in that game,
right.
if I'm not mistaken, and right. just poor down the stretch play. And this is, we've been throwing a lot of praise at the Celtics as of late, and deservedly so, because they played really, really well in this last stretch, especially defensively. However, it's a little bit concerning to look at it and go, what happened tonight? What happened to the Celtics, and what are their problems? Outside of this little stretch here with our 9 straight wins, what were the problems before? And it was the team could not close games late. And that's exactly what happened again here tonight. And I think it's, we still have more time left in the season. There's still, 22 games left, I believe, going after All-Star break here. So 22 games left in the season. The Celtics, I like how Chris Mannix mentioned, too. I'm shouting out Chris Mannix twice here on our post-game show. I know Celtics Nation, we're not a big Chris Mannix collective. But anyway, shout out to Chris Mannix. He's actually quite the guy. But he mentioned, this Eastern Conference is so compact this season that, a couple of wins and losses are going to decide whether or not, you say you're at the 2 seed, 3 seed, or maybe you're even at the 6th or 7th seed. It's going to be so tight that only a couple of these wins and losses that we see here are going to decide the fate of a team, say, come playoff time, when it comes to gaining home court advantage over another team. And to have a loss like this tonight, it just rubs you the wrong way, knowing how well the Celtics have played as of late, the momentum they could have brought into All-Star break. And yet now they're looking at it now. We have to come out of All-Star break and avenge a bad loss instead of let's keep this train moving. And that's a little concerning moving forward. But like I said, we'll see. There's 22 games left in the season to right the ship here.
What makes me so upset about this loss is, we have to sit. I know obviously it's worse being, as players and fans, don't get me wrong, but even us fans, on top of the players and the coaching staff and, the media, we have to sit on this horrid loss. We've seen so much success. This is, I remind you, we're a little over midway through February, and this was the first Celtics loss in February. We have to sit on the first loss of February, the first and only loss, for a week, Seamus. For a week, we have to sit on this demoralizing loss. And, maybe not the worst loss of the season, but Detroit had an 8-game losing streak.
We've had a lot of bad losses. Right.
Right.
I wouldn't say this is the worst loss because, in a sense, the Pistons did play well for their standards. They played relatively well for their standards, but, some of these other losses, like the Knicks lost, 25-point lead. We lost to Minnesota with their G Leaguers out there. The Clippers with their G Leaguers, essentially. There were a couple of really bad losses in here throughout the way. And and even looking back at the beginning of the season, the Wizards, we've had so many bad losses that this one, I would say, in the grand context of the season, is one of the, I don't want to see better losses that we've had, because of course we lost to good teams. We've lost to the Suns when they were turning up in early. Well, they've just been turning up this whole season, but in early December, look at that and you're like, well, that's a more talented team. But this loss, they did play a Pistons team that played hard. Like I said, played above their standards, hit tough shots, especially down the stretch. I mean, look at Jeremy Grant. That last shot that he made, that go-ahead, it looked like a Kobe shot from mid-range where he pretty much – I don't remember who was defending him. It might have been Tatum. He pretty much did if I'm not mistaken, he faked him one way, went the other, and just hit a fader going like to the side, and you're just looking at it going, damn, that was Jeremy Grant. Like, you just look at that's a superstar type of move right there, and it came from Jeremy Grant. So there is some certain, praise we should be throwing at the Pistons tonight for how well they played. But again, it's just a really, really bad loss on the Celtics' part when you look at how well they were playing, the situation that they're currently going into, which is now taking a 7-day break, and just breaking up this streak that maybe they don't care about the streak. Hopefully they don't care about the streak, but, all these wins are going to matter, as I said, at the end of the season. And to just drop this one the way they did, where they had an 8-point lead with 3.5 to go, they had a chance to close it out, just leaves a really, really just sour taste in your mouth going into All-Star break.
Let's try to pick something positive out of this. I mean, player spotlight. Grant Williams, of course, but, Jaylen Brown snubbed from the All-Star game twice, Seamus, and 31 points, 6 assists, coming off of a 29-point night last night. What have you seen from Jaylen Brown? A little sense of urgency the past couple games.
Well, he's shooting tremendously better as of late. I must mention that, we talked to him and Tatum at the beginning of the season. I don't know if you just lost me there, but we talked about Tatum at the beginning of the season, and it's been about consistency. Jaylen Brown, part of the reason why I don't feel he was necessarily snubbed from the All-Star game is because, number one, there are 2 more guys right with him who could have made it and did make it in front of him, and those players, LaMelo and Jared Allen, should have made it in the first place as well, and they just had to be the replacements. I think they should just expand the rosters and just call it a day, because we always have more than 12 All-Stars in a given conference in any given year. We don't, the NBA is in a talent surge right now. Just expand the All-Star rosters. Adam Silver, but Jaylen Brown was not this consistent as he's been at the end of January, coming into February now, midway through February now. He's been way more consistent as of late for the Celtics, and that made a huge, huge difference in how they've been able to put together these consistent runs and how they were able to put together this 9-game winning streak as well, because you have a full, healthy Jaylen Brown. Remember, he was dealing with that hamstring issue that, he could have been dealing with that most of December. We didn't even know about it, and, after the fact of it. And now he's coming back in January and February, looks totally healthy. And tonight, too, or both nights, I should say, tonight and last night, Jaylen Brown just confident as hell every time he's shooting the ball. And it's not that he's not confident when he shoots the ball, but he just has the swagger to him these last 2 games, or he's had the swagger to him these last 2 games where, every shot he's taking, he feels 1,000% confident it's going in, and he is not afraid to take any look out there at all. And I think that's just made a huge difference in both the Celtics as a team offensively, and him just being more consistent and actually, getting that respect that most people think around here, or around Boston, I should say, thinks he deserves on the national stage.
Yeah. What's going on, guys? How we feeling?
Ian was there for the slaughter. Well, I shouldn't say slaughter, but
I'm not going to lie to you, and I've said this a million times, and I said it on my live stream last night. I said it to myself before the game. I said it to the person I went with. If the Celtics were going to lose this losing streak, it was going to be this game against the Pistons. Not because the Pistons are a great team or anything. They have good players. They have Jeremy Grant, Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey. They have good guys. It's just, second half of a back-to-back. Should the Celtics have won this game? Yeah, they probably should have. Did Tatum kind of choke in the end? Kind of. Was it kind of annoying seeing Jaylen Brown touch the ball like 2 times the entire fourth quarter when he had 30 points in the game? Yeah. But, I mean, I think the Celtics are still in an okay place. I honestly think this was a loss that I kind of expected. But I don't know what you guys think about that. It was a rough game, but there were some positives. Grant Williams put on a show. At least he had the Garden rocking. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah, I told Rob the other day. I said, the most Celtic thing to do is go in and beat Philly, the team you're not expected to beat, and then go in and lose to Detroit, the team you're expected to beat. That, I saw. I guess I could say, you saw this coming. I mean, last night in the post game interviews, Brown was saying, we wanted this game. We wanted to keep the win streak going with this game. I don't know. I guess the point I was trying to make earlier, Seamus, when I lost my train of thought, did the Celtics overlook this team? The Pistons, Celtics have been known this season to overlook their opponent. And, who knows? Maybe that happened tonight. Maybe it didn't happen tonight. Detroit absolutely bullied the Celtics around. They got whatever they want. I think they were in the weight room before the game. And Isaiah Stewart was just so physical all night. Marvin Bagley seemed to get whatever he wanted on a putback. Just a lousy night for the Celtics. You said, you're talking about the turnover, Seamus, and that really hurt the Celtics, especially down the stretch. I thought Derek White had a great game. Wish he could have hit a couple shots, but he did his job, especially defensively towards the end. Got that huge steal off that inbounds pass. I agree to Ian's point in a way. Brown, 31 points. This isn't the first time this season where Brown has had a great game and they don't give it to him down the stretch. I don't know why they don't give it to Jaylen Brown down the stretch. I don't know if that has to do with Jaylen Brown, but little interesting how Jaylen Brown doesn't get the ball in his hands. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love JT. When he's going, he's going. But, on nights like this where you see Jaylen Brown just absolutely get whatever he wants, I don't know. Maybe Jaylen Brown should have taken that last shot. I think it was a play for Brown, but they had trouble getting that inbounds pass in. And, Tatum had to leak out to White and get the ball. But I don't know. This is, we got to sit on this for a week, boys. I mean, hopefully we're going to move on from it, but this is not a loss you want to sit on for a week, especially going in right off the All-Star break. I don't know if you guys saw, but Durant just reportedly he might be good to go for that game. And, I don't know the rule on Simmons. I don't know the rule on Kyrie because I know that they're trying to really, really change that vaccine mandate over there in Brooklyn. I don't know. We could be seeing a depleted Nets team. We could be seeing a good to go, ready to go Brooklyn Nets team. So, that's a tough game. Either way, Brooklyn in Brooklyn, even if they don't have their big three guys, they're still tough. I know the Celtics had their way with them last game, but they're not going to let the Celtics do that, just like the Pistons. The Celtics had their way with the Pistons just about a week or two ago in Detroit, and they didn't have it tonight. And I don't think that's going to be the case, whether Durant plays or not, come Tuesday night.
Yeah. One more thing before I have to go here. I will say I'm having some kind of bad luck going to these Celtics games as of recently. One of the last games I went to was the game against the Spurs at home when Brown missed the layup at the final minute, like the final second he missed the layup.
Similar ending.
And then I went to the game where, I mean, we won in overtime, but we shouldn't have gone to overtime with the Pacers. And now freaking lose to Detroit. But I don't know. Rough game. I'll let you guys take it from here. Thanks for letting me rant for a minute. I'm still waiting to get out of here because the parking garage is kind of insane right now.
But, I'm surprised you even have connection to join.
He's
yeah, it's kind of nuts. Honestly, the connection down here is not too bad. So it's going to be a rough week until the next game. Hopefully, the Celtics can bounce back and not take this loss too hard.
Dude, Ian is out in the field reporting right now. He's literally like you are at the now, essentially, or near it at least.
Essentially. All right, see you later, guys. Have a good rest of the show.
See you.
Yeah. There's not going to be too much great left of this show because not that much great to talk about after this. I mean, that 9-game win streak wasn't a fluke. I don't think it was a fluke at all. I think this was just you have these games. You're not going to win them all. You're especially not going to win them all by 29.5 points, 6 of your last 12 games. Like I said, Celtics absolutely got what they wanted in Detroit, Seamus, and Detroit knew that, and they weren't going to let it happen here. And again, I don't expect that to be the case when we face the Brooklyn Nets next week. I mean, we absolutely got whatever we wanted against the Brooklyn Nets the other night. We embarrassed them. They so embarrassed when it got to 35 in the third quarter, TNT turned the game off. And like I said, whether Durant, Simmons, and Irving play or not, Celtics, that game isn't just going to be easy. That's not going to be a walk in the ballpark for them.
Looking at this number here, well, actually, I just did some quick math here because the Celtics had 23 rebounds at halftime. Do you know how many rebounds they ended up in the game? 30. They had 7 rebounds in the second half. How is that even possible? Is that is this possible?
Al Horford.
Is this possible? They had 23. I remember going on live and going 27 to 23 in the rebounding category. They grabbed 7 rebounds in the second half. That's insane. That really paints a picture of this game entirely on what actually beat the Celtics tonight, because
totally
just look at the rebounding numbers, 47 to 30. It was only a 4 rebound advantage for the Pistons at halftime. They ended up winning the rebound battle by 17. And not only that, second chance points, I believe the Pistons had 17 to the Celtics 2, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody might need to fact check that number. And then 18 offensive rebounds to 2 for the Celtics. That's just, I mean, that's really just, at the end of the day, that's effort. That is, one team wanting it a little bit more or a lot more than the other. And, I'm not going to bash the Celtics on their effort tonight because, they did play well, I thought, through portions of this game. They have been giving a lot of good effort this season. If they haven't, they wouldn't have had that little 9-game winning streak we're coming off of right now. But tonight against the Pistons, they just brought it way harder than the Celtics.
Gotta give them credit. Totally. Give them their roses. I mean, like we said earlier in the show, this was their big game. This was their Super Bowl. If they wanted to win one more game this season, it was definitely this one, at least so far. Seamus, I don't want to hang our heads too down low because the Celtics have been playing really, really well over the past month or so, month and a half. It's just a tough, sour loss to go into the All-Star break. It's not like we dropped the game against Philly or Brooklyn or Miami or Charlotte. It was against the bottom of the tier Detroit Pistons. And you got to give them credit, though. They really, guys 1 through 15 over there in Detroit, absolutely brought their all. And, you can make the argument this game would have been changed with Marcus Smart or Robert Williams. But, our opponents have had some key guys out as well. So we're not going to throw that excuse out there. At least I'm not going to. We saw Daniel Tice get some good minutes tonight. Derek White stepped in as a starter, got a good opportunity. I thought he played pretty well. I don't want to hang my head down too low, and I don't want to let this loss. A lot of people are going to complain about this loss and totally forget about that 9-game win streak we had and how the kind of basketball we have been playing. They're going to let this 48 minutes out of the last month or two really dictate how the Celtics season goes. You're thinking wrong right now. And Celtics are what? 8 games over 500 now, 7 games over 500, which you got to be blessed. You got to be happy to be in that position right now, because there's no way in hell 2 months ago, if I were to tell you the Celtics were 7 or 8 games over 500, you would think I was nuts. If anything, we'd be 7 or 8 games below 500. Celtics have clearly flipped the switch. Unfortunately, you can't win them all. 112 to 111. Seamus, what are the Celtics? What do you expect to see next Tuesday? I know that's a week away. We have a whole weekend of All-Star events. I know Derek White's his mind is he's going to be traveling back and forth to San Antonio. He's got a pregnant girlfriend. He's living in a hotel. He's going to go back to San Antonio over this break to get all of his stuff. He's going to have a tough break. Jason Tatum, obviously, back to business for him. He's going to the All-Star game. What do the Celtics have to do to not hang their head? I mean, like we said, this isn't a fun one to lose, especially when you don't have another game for 8 days.
Well, I think this is almost an easy one to get past for the Celtics in a way, because even if you go, this would have been nice to have a lot of momentum going into the All-Star break that, hey, we're on a 10-game winning streak. We now get a vacation, come back and get on a roll again. Yet now this game, brings you back down to reality a little bit that, hey, we can lose a ball game. And, every team, if any team on any night brings it to us with the right intensity, we will lose if we don't match it. And they go into break now. They have about a week off. There's, over the next week, it's all about forgetting this game and just forgetting about this loss and focusing in on what they did best over that 9-game winning streak and locking into that again. So in a weird way, this is a bad loss going into All-Star break, brings us a, sour taste into everybody's mouth. However, it can be a motivating game and can be a game that is looked over easily when, you have a week off, you have time to think, and you can dwell, or you can look upon that 9-game winning streak rather than this, like you said, this, these last 48 minutes before the All-Star break. And right. The Celtics, they can use this as motivation, or they can use this to, break them again. But like I said, they have a week off. They can get away from the floor, get their minds right, come back, lock in, and just keep it rolling again.
What were some things that you enjoyed tonight for the Celtics? I know there wasn't a lot, but the Celtics didn't play all as bad as that win-loss column at the end. The Celtics lost, but they didn't have the worst game of the season, Seamus.
Yeah, they shot pretty well for most of the night, and they also got after it in transition, especially in the first half. And it's kind of weird because we mentioned, the Pistons, they really dominated us in the paint. In the half court tonight, they dominated us in the paint. Yet the Celtics, if I'm not mistaken, they might have won the points in the paint battle, and that was really solely off of all their transition opportunities that they received tonight in both halves. But tonight's game, they're I don't know how much. There's obviously you put stock into tonight's game because we're not going to make the excuse of Smart and Robert Williams being out, but moving forward, you played well in transition. You shot the ball well. You didn't shoot as hot as you did in Philly, but Philly, that was really a historic performance by the team, so no one should really expect that from night to night. And then you get out rebounded. Pistons bring their effort. You don't match their intensity. You blow another lead down the stretch. It's one of those games where you don't feel terrible about your performance, but you certainly think that we can't do this again. If we do this against, a Miami Heat team, a Milwaukee Bucks team, a Philadelphia 76er team with James Harden on it, especially come playoff time, that's just not going to work.
Right. And I don't know. I'm not going to put too much stock into this, Seamus. I really think the Celtics, look, rough night. You have these nights. You're not going to win them all. The Celtics have been purely dominating their opponents. Look, keep your head up. Got to keep your head up, guys. Like I said, Celtics could be in a much worse position than they're in right now. I know we need the Brooklyn Nets to lose, Seamus, but I just really want to bring up, at one point, I believe they were down nearly 30. They actually came back and they beat the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, which I think is hilarious.
Nets money line. Nets money line. Nets money line. Let's go.
I don't know.
You just broke that news to me live. Not paying attention to that game at all. They were down by a ton. Saw them they were at like 100. I'm going, they are facing the Knicks here. I didn't take that, but Nets money line was out there. I believe the Nets to lose, but when you have a wager down, it happens.
I was watching it. I was watching the game in the second quarter, and I believe it was like 57-26, something like that, in favor of the Knicks or something like that. And I was like,
Wow.
Brooklyn's going to lose. And this is another game where the Knicks blew a huge lead. Toronto just finished up. They won by 12.
I just realized something. So I had a Nets money line, singular, like a singular bet, just period.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I had them in a 2-team parlay with another team.
Celtics, dude.
I was looking at that bet in the second quarter of tonight's game, going, "Well, the Celtics are going to take care of business, but the Nets, oh my lord!" Turned out to be it was the other way around. Oh, that's a bad beat. Last night I had the Hornets in a 2-teamer. They lost to the Timberwolves in overtime. Bad beats.
This loss would have set better if Toronto and Brooklyn both lost. It turns out they both won. Milwaukee and Philly square off tomorrow night, Thursday night. That game tips off on TNT, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, Bucks and 76ers. The Nets are also on tomorrow against the Washington Wizards. So, if the Nets lose tomorrow and then, either or pick your poison, Sixers or Bucks, you probably want the Sixers to lose since you're right on their tail compared to the Bucks where you're down 2 games, where you're only down 1 game with the 76ers. Which I assume is going to be a game and a half now, Seamus.
Yeah. Also, I want to give a quick shout out here before we round up the show anytime soon. But Saddiq Bey, oh my lord, this man is becoming a certified Celtics killer. We have the Celtics killers who we think are Celtics killers. Then we have the certified Celtics killers, the guys like, DeMar DeRozan, who every single time he plays the Celtics, he's dropping 30 no matter what. Joel Embiid typically. Yeah, last night's game was pretty much an anomaly. Typically, he's dropping 40 on us. But tonight, Saddiq Bey, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 5 of 8 from 3, and 7 of 13 from the field. Super efficient Celtics every single time he plays them. And I don't know. It's almost like I know we like Nesmith. I know we like Aaron Nesmith and still hold hopes for Nesmith in the future, but Saddiq Bey definitely lets us know about the fact that the Celtics didn't draft him every time he plays Boston. I mean,
I also want to mention, I want to give Horford his roses as well. He actually had a pretty good game. He did a little bit of everything tonight. Actually, a lot of bit of everything tonight. 19.7 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. 8 of 10 from the floor, 2 of 3 from the 3-point line, hugely stepping up in Robert Williams' center spot. Grant Williams, obviously, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 6 of 11 from the floor, 4 of 7 from long range. And Kelly Olynyk, old friend across the pond, across Detroit, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, shot 5 of 8 from the floor and 3 of 4 from 3. Kelly Olynyk, Game 7 to us tonight, Seamus.
He's another Celtics killer. He
is.
I think most of the guys who leave here and come back are just natural born Celtics killers. We've seen Marcus Morris hit a couple of go ahead shots on us late, when he was with the Knicks. Hit a couple of clutch shots earlier this season when he was with the Clippers. Let's see. Who else have we had come in here and dominate? Obviously, Kyrie in the playoff. Isaiah Thomas, the one guy who we've all wanted to see dominate us, actually. Like, we're like, okay, well, if one guy were to dominate us in a game of former Celtic, it's Isaiah Thomas. And he's really the guy who hasn't yet. Rondo, many times since he's left, he's just whipped us around. It's these former Celtics. Kelly Olynyk with the Heat dropped 32 on us. Jeff Green dropped 19 in a Game 7 against us. I mean, it's just the former Celtics. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. They just love revenge.
Right. I don't advise anybody, not even
Fournier. Yes.
Fournier, yeah.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Oh my, that is the greatest example. He literally is a different human being when he plays the Celtics.
Yeah.
every single time.
Don't hang your head, people. This was definitely a tough pill to swallow, a tough game. But I really think the Celtics have turned the corner. I really do. You do have games like this. Unfortunately, this game did resemble a lot of what we've seen in the first half of the season. But we're officially onto the second half of the season, post-All-Star break, whatever you guys at home want to call it. The Celtics are back in action. I want to give you the correct date, so hold on 1 second. It's the 24th of February, so 8 days. 24th. It's Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. That game is going to be on national TV, TNT. The Celtics and Nets, that'll be a big one. Nice division rivalry. Semifinal or quarterfinals rematch from last season. Celtics went into Brooklyn last week and smoked them, 126-91. I don't think that'll be the case again next week, but you never know. Jason Tatum, he's an all-star starter for the third straight year. He's an all-star for the third straight year. He's a starter for the second straight year. Was he a starter last year? He was. Yes. That takes place this Sunday, February 20th, that 8 p.m. tip-off, I believe, on TNT. So it should be a pretty fun all-star weekend. Definitely a tough loss coming on a second night of a back-to-back. We're not going to throw the excuses of no Rob and no Marcus Smart, although that did play a factor. That's not the reason why we lost this game. Celtics had plenty of opportunities. They had an 8-point lead, with 8 minutes or with about 3 to 4 minutes to go. That capsized. And, hey, Detroit came to play, Seamus. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Rebound. Literally and figuratively. The Celtics need to rebound next Tuesday against the Nets. I don't see why they can't. I don't see why they can. Unless Seth Curry and Andre Drummond, like you mentioned, Philly's old depth, is going to defeat us. The Nets don't have that many horses on their roster without their 3 All-Stars who will not be playing in that game, most likely not be playing in that game when we face them. So that's a good get right game, as I always say, get right game for the Celtics. They have to come out and execute in that one and put this one behind them. That's all they can do.
Well, guys, that'll do it. We will be back here Thursday night for Celtics and Nets. That's still a big game, whether we win or lose this game and make it a 10-game win streak or snap the 9-game win streak. This is still a huge game coming into Thursday night. Celtics and Nets will have you covered for Celtics Postgame Live minutes. I'd say minutes after the final buzzer. 7:30 tip-off. On Thursday, February 24th. Catch JT in the All-Star Game on Sunday, 8 p.m. tip-off on TNT. I'm Justin Lowe. That's Seamus Darlingo. Celtics every day. Take it easy, guys, and we'll see you after the All-Star break.